What if I told you the next major crisis in the United States won't start with a bomb, a war, or even an attack on American soil, but with something so small, so invisible, that most people have never even thought about it? And yet, it has the power to quietly shut down entire industries almost overnight. Because right now, a chain reaction is forming behind the scenes, and if it plays out the way some strategists are warning, it could push the US economy toward a shock not seen since 2008, and maybe even worse than that. And the most dangerous part is, this is not happening inside America. It is unfolding thousands of miles away, inside a system that most people don't even realize exists, which is exactly why it is so dangerous. Stay with me, because over the next few minutes, I'm going to show you how one hidden dependency could ripple across Apple, Nvidia, Tesla, and the entire global economy faster than anyone expects. Let's start with something simple, something we all use every single day without thinking about it. The modern world does not just run on oil anymore. It runs on semiconductors, the tiny chips inside your phone, your laptop, your car, your home appliances, the systems running artificial intelligence, and even the military technology protecting entire nations. Now here's the detail that almost nobody pays attention to, even though it might be one of the most important facts in the global economy today. Almost all of the world's most advanced chips are made in one place, Taiwan. And that means one single location is responsible for keeping the digital world running. Roughly 70% of global semiconductor production comes from this one island, and when it comes to the most advanced chips, the kind that power AI systems and next-generation technology, that number jumps close to 90%. That is not just dominance, that is a choke point, a single point of failure that the entire world depends on without even realizing it. And here's where the story takes a turn that most people never see coming. Those chip factories don't just run on technology, they depend on something much more unexpected. Something most people have never even thought about in this context. They depend on a gas, helium, not the kind you see in balloons, but ultra-purified industrial helium that keeps these machines running at extreme precision. Without that helium, the machines don't slow down, they stop completely. And when those machines stop, chip production stops. And when chip production stops, everything connected to it starts to break. Now here comes the question that changes everything. Where does that helium come from? A major portion of it comes from one place, Qatar, a country that sits at the center of global energy supply. So now you have a chain that almost nobody talks about. Qatar supplies helium, Taiwan uses it to produce chips, and the United States depends on those chips to run its entire economy. That is not just a supply chain. That is a fragile system built on a few critical points that can be disrupted. And this is where things start to escalate. Because if anything disrupts Qatar's energy flow, whether it is regional conflict, a shipping blockade, or rising tensions in the Middle East, that helium supply gets hit immediately. And when that happens, Taiwan doesn't have months to adjust. It has days, maybe weeks at best. Production slows down, then it starts to break. And once it breaks, the effects move faster than most people expect. Now, here comes the part most people underestimate. When Taiwan slows down, the shock doesn't stay there. It travels directly into the heart of the US economy. Apple suddenly cannot produce iPhones at the scale the world expects. Nvidia cannot supply the chips powering the AI boom. Tesla cannot keep its production lines running smoothly, and major automakers begin to slow down. At first, it looks like a temporary disruption, something manageable, something that will pass. But then the second wave hits. Companies start missing targets, supply chains tighten, and uncertainty begins spreading through financial markets. And uncertainty is where things start to get dangerous, because markets don't crash instantly, they weaken slowly, then suddenly. Stock prices begin to drop, earnings forecasts get revised downward, and investors start pulling back as confidence begins to fade. Now we move into the next phase, the one that affects real people directly. Companies start cutting costs, hiring freezes begin, And then layoffs follow because when production stops, revenue slows, and businesses react the only way they can. What started as a supply issue becomes an employment issue, and then quickly turns into an economic issue. And then something even bigger starts to happen. Confidence in the system begins to crack, because the US economy does not just run on production, it runs on trust. And when that trust starts to weaken, the entire system feels it. Money starts moving out, the dollar comes under pressure, import costs rise, inflation increases, and suddenly the economy is being pulled in multiple directions at once. There is a word for this kind of situation, and it is not a good one: stagflation. The last time the United States faced it at scale, it took nearly a decade to recover, and the impact was felt across every level of society. Now step back and look at the bigger picture, because this is where everything connects. This is not about one country or one event. This is about how modern power actually works in today's world. Not through direct attacks, but through systems, through dependencies, through the invisible connections that hold everything together. And right now, those connections are being tested, because the real battlefield is no longer just physical, it is economic, it is structural, and it is hidden in supply chains most people never think about. And here is the part that should make you stop and think. You don't need to defeat the US military to weaken the US economy. You just need to disrupt the system long enough for confidence to break. And once that happens, the effects spread faster than any traditional conflict ever could. So now the real question is not whether this could happen, it is whether anyone is truly ready if it does. Because the warning signs are already there, and the system behind it all is far more fragile than it appears on the surface. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think the United States is prepared for a disruption like this? Or is this a vulnerability that has been ignored for too long? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, because this is a conversation that matters. And if you found this breakdown valuable, make sure to like the video, share it with others who need to understand what is really happening, and subscribe to Market Mindset for more deep analysis like this. Because sometimes the biggest threats are not the ones you can see, they're the ones quietly building in the background until it is too late.